Hi, Kass.
All right. So we are
Uh-huh.
recording.
Okay.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Black, Brown, or Different. You're still not
Still
wrong.
not wrong.
Yeah. How does that, let's just share a little bit how that actually came up for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, a few weeks ago, Cass and I were having a conversation about being brown in America and being brown in Europe and all the different things that have come up around that. Um, and we wondered, what would it be like to bring a group of brown, black, different people together to explore what we can create and how we could celebrate us and our magic. Um, and we were also just talking about all the ways being black, brown, and different in the world can bring up the wrongness, when you're not a part of the majority, and how you might be taking that into your world and creating limitations. And we thought, well, heck, let's have a call and blow those open and see what else is possible. That's the short summary of it. And Cass was talking about how she chose to live in Italy and move to Italy and what that is like for her. I actually was speaking more about so I wrote a book many years ago called The BAP Handbook, The Official Guide to the Black American Princess. And it was really to celebrate the difference or to celebrate being Black or brown. And when writing that, I was also aware of all the ways that in celebrating us, we were also trying to prove that, we fit in, that we weren't wrong. And, you know, what would it be like if we, as Black, brown, different people, could have no limitations at all? And what would that energy be like? And perhaps you get a sense of that like relaxation, that melting, that possibility. So, is that a good start, Cass? Would you like to
Yeah, sure.
add
Absolutely.
something?
And it's so interesting. We were talking about this a few weeks ago, and in the meantime, we've had this black, brown, and different woman, vice president elect, come up in the United States. I'm born in Boston, went to university and lived in New York for 15 years. And Karla's born in New York and then went to university in Boston. And um, love this new possibilities that are showing up in the world thanks to Corona. You
Yeah.
know, everyone's different showing up thanks to these new elections in the United States. We have Joe Biden. He's different. You know, he's got a family that's quite different. And lost a couple of kids. One, not ease the oldest person being elected, right? And he chose someone very different to be his um, running mate, woman of Jamaican origin and Indian origin, two countries I love. And she's married to a Jewish guy, different in the States as well. So what possibilities are opening up in the world to be able to step up, in a very different way, step into our difference in a very different way, and not actually be feel bad about being different. So what is the difference that you are, where you live, where you're from, what you look like, what your mind is like? So many people with talents that are considered disabilities. In Access, we talk about X-Men. What if what's different about you is something really special? And how can you use that to encourage you instead of discourage you, you know? So one of the things that I love about that Carla is her smile and her kindness. And also something similar that we have is something always about moving forward in life, no matter what. So we've been talking about a lot of things, and what shows up when you're actually willing to acknowledge what's different about you. You know, there's so much that's similar about everyone, every single one on the planet. You might not have any more legs. You might not have your arms anymore. You might not have your eyes or your eyesight, or your nose might be, you know, but there's so much that's similar. Everyone's got cells and molecules in their bodies, right? And blood and um, however, there is that something that makes us special, makes us different.
Yeah.
And what is that? And a lot of times we're trying to ignore that. We're trying to pretend it's not that way. We're being judged for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially, there's a lot of, especially in this period in the States with this, Black Lives Matter. And it's not just people of color that are saying that, that are acknowledging what I did this series. Does your Black life matter? What is it about you that hasn't been acknowledged, that hasn't been appreciated, that has actually been a place of judgment? That if you're willing to actually look beyond that, what other people see and what other people receive, what other people get from you, how can you really step out and start shining, right? What does that bring up for you, Carla?
Yeah, and utilize that. I think before, we were talking about, you mentioned my smile, right? And I was talking about how I'm aware of like how much judgment I receive for my joy and have received for my joy, which is kind of crazy, but there it is, you know? And you talk about this administration, which is one thing. There's an awareness for me about this new administration bringing in kindness and bringing in joy and bringing in possibility and being aware of the differences and like how can we all really contribute to that in such in just a way of being us. And like with my smile, and I've talked about this on another call, like I'm aware of the judgment, and then also anything else that might come up with that, the discomfort that it could bring, and then also obviously the joy that it brings for those that are willing to receive it. And so where are we in our lives not allowing our natural gifts, capacities, and abilities, where are we not letting them just to shine without that, without any of the judgment, without any of the wrongness? And what are you noticing in your life where where you might be choosing that to shut yourself down and be quieter rather than just to turn it up even more and to have even more brilliance?
Yeah. And the United States of America, right, is
Ah,
up until 5 years ago at least, um, was like an idol for people. I would say up to maybe 10 years ago, for people about democracy, about being a melting pot, about arms open, the Statue of Liberty, and such a a shock for people, especially with this international spreading of uh, Floyd, who was you know
yeah,
killed by police officers. And people were saying, and I live in Italy, I've been living here for 23 years, I've been traveling the world. I'm fully a citizen of the world, but I love being Black American. I mean, I really do, because it's it's something different, you know? We call it African American. But when you go live in different places, you're no longer one thing. You're actually something different when you live and change the country from which you in which you were born, you know? So I
Yeah.
go to the States, I'm a little different, right? In Italy, I'm a little different, especially with the masks now. It's so funny as I go with the mask, everyone goes with the masks on. And I can't, if people have a hat and a mask on, how do you know who they are? I'm very easy. It's very easy for people to know who I am. So
Right.
what is it that's unique about you? It's actually very easy for people to spot,
Yeah.
to to pick up on. And are we trying to hide that,
Yeah.
right? Or are we trying to push it?
Push it down. Yeah.
Push it down or actually push it on people,
Ah, yeah,
you
that's
know?
yeah.
Yeah. And it's just the opposite side of the coin, whether you're trying to hide it or whether you're trying to push it out there, it's still not enjoying it.
Right. Not allowing yourself to revel in it, to luxuriate in it, just to be it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's yeah. It's so funny, you were talking about, how we all have our uniqueness, and then at the core, whether it's, brown skin or bright smile or um, laughter or I don't know, whatever magic you bring to the party of life, whatever magic you bring to the party of life, there is that thing in all of us that is, I want to say that infinite energy. And really, as I'm aware of this right now, it's like we all walk on the earth. The earth holds all of us. The earth holds and hugs all of us. And what if simply just by having that awareness, like with every footstep, we could be an allowance of being whatever the magic is that we be, knowing that we're literally, being held, being nurtured, being fed, being supported, and the earth allows us. And what if we can just remember the earth allows us? Like we're supposed to be here because we're here with the earth. If the earth didn't want us to be here, maybe it would take us out. Like COVID, right? um,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
everyone who is on living here on this planet is a vibration that's part of this world. It would not be the same without you.
yeah,
And how much are we trying to, like you said, push down or duplicate other people, right? And be like other people, follow it, the perfect businesswoman, the perfect father, the perfect, but there's nobody, and I said, there's nobody that does you like you. You're the only one.
yeah,
You're the best version of you that exists. Yeah. So what if you're willing to actually acknowledge that difference, and not ever make it more real what other people think about that. It's so funny because people, I mean, we're writing some books and interviews and stuff like that, and people ask me, have you ever experienced racism?
hmm,
Right? And
yeah,
I'm like, I'm sure I have, but I never consider it, if somebody's not receiving me. My cousin always said, "You're so funny, Cass. When people don't agree with you, you try to tell them in a different way, in many different ways, the same thing, because you're assuming that if they don't agree with you, it's probably because they didn't understand you." But what if that's it? What if you're not assuming people don't like you or people are ignoring you because you don't have the same education or you don't speak in the right way or you don't know that language well. I've been doing some visits on an English teachers group, right, with Algeria, you know, And she invites me because I speak English, Spanish, French, Italian, right? To say to them, hey, you can speak, you know,
Every language.
different languages. It's possible. And they don't think they speak English well.
Ah,
And I said to them, do you know that over 50% of the population that speaks English does not have English as a first language?
wow, that's wonderful for you to share with them. And so they can stop making assumptions, right?
Absolutely. And how can you use your accent to your advantage? Like I always play with speaking in English with a French accent, right? Just because it's really sexy. So, what is it that you don't speak English with an English accent or an American accent, or you don't show up like other people? How can you use that to your advantage? How can you use your accent? How can you use your way of speaking? How can you use all of your differences, right? To actually invite people to see life from a different perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was in New Zealand and these been people were these gals were interviewing me and they said, you know, I've never met anyone like you. You're raceless. And I said, I'm not raceless. I'm raceful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So what if we were I'm not just feminine. I'm masculine too. You
Exactly.
know, I'm not just smart, I'm dumb too. you know,
Right? So I think there's that
Gary
again.
Douglas says dumb is dirt, you know, but dirt is really smart because dirt's all over the planet and it's growing trees and it's growing fruit and it's growing. So, what is that difference, right? That
Yeah.
we considered ourselves to be? It actually is a gift and a gem and a jewel. And if we're willing to look at it, you know, that way, we actually will actually be able to see ourselves from a different perspective, connect with ourselves in a different way, and just be the invitation for that. You asked, how can we be a contribution to what this new US administration? Like you said, absolutely. Honor you, honor your difference, and don't let people's judgments stop you.
Away. Get in the way.
Yeah.
So funny. It's that idea of like being willing to be everything. I mean, even within that, there's the judgment of, quote unquote, dirt is bad, right? So, or dirt is wrong. And you saying, hey, I'm willing to be smart and I'm willing to be dumb as dirt, or I am both, and having all of that. So, what it makes me consider is just the energy of being everything, right? In this world and allowing yourself that gift to be everything in this world. Um,
And if you're willing to step up and be that, how many other people will say, "Wow, I thought I'm a little bit like that, and I thought that that was wrong to be that way." You know?
right,
Yeah.
right.
I always give, yeah, this my example with the cows and the horses. You know,
The cows and the horses, I'm like, talk more about that.
but, they're not the same. They're different. They look different.
Yeah,
Yeah, they walk different, right?
yeah,
And one goes moo moo moo. One goes right. That they're born in the same fields. They eat the same things,
yeah.
you know. But you wouldn't judge a cow because it is not running around and jumping over fences. You wouldn't say, "Oh, that's a stupid cow. That cow is stupid. Look at that cow. See, I knew that the cow was not good." And sometimes the horses feel bad because they're way, like you said, too joyful, too jumpy, too, you know? And how many of us are like,
Energy, those horses.
yeah, exactly. How many of us are trying to put on a cow suit and be like the cows and think that we're actually, fitting in?
It's
But
all the
nobody
shoulda, couldas, right?
but nobody believes that because all of a sudden, instead of saying moo, you say yeah in a cow suit. You're willing to take off the cow suit, take off that hiding you, come out of being, being willing to step up, be black, brown, different, right? How many other people will say, wow, there are other people like me out there. There
Yeah,
are other horses out there. There are other different people like me.
yeah.
And what can we create together?
What joy can we be? What change can we be? And whatever that is in your, in your space. Like, what is it that you love? And what is it that you would like to create? And where have all of those should haves and could haves and you must be and you should are supposed to be? Like, where are all those little things in your world holding you back from being all the things you love and contributing all the things you love and sharing all the things that you love
Or discovering
in
them.
this world and discovering them because you're not
Discovering them.
supposed
Yeah.
to because your skin color doesn't do that, your type of person doesn't do that, your gender doesn't do that. So it's like allowing those barriers inside and outside, and we were talking about this before, Sasha, just to melt and energetically allowing that. And if you could tap into what that's like, I mean, everybody loves, well, I love dark chocolate. Everybody loves melted chocolate, right? I don't know, I do.
Oh, if we don't, we're wrong.
Yes, you're wrong, you're wrong.
We don't love melted chocolate, we're wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Whatever you like that's melty. Could be butter, could be anything.
And
But look
the
at the ease at what's happening when something melts, whether it's
and
an
I love that
idea.
inside of you,
Yeah.
right? Stop melting some of the judgments you have about you because you know what that allows, right? And I'm thinking of one of my friends that I love, this guy that's on the call, who's so lovely and unique and different. He's different. And if he were willing, what would it take to be willing to receive how different you are? To be okay with that and to know that it's actually, like you said, I say that in the 7 steps, your unique brand of magic, then other people will know how to treat you. You will be the example of how to treat you. And people who can
Ah.
respect you and honor you will show up. They'll be able to see you. But if you are not willing to acknowledge you, then others can't either because you're being invisible.
Yeah. Wow. So that's, making me ask a question, like what energy, space, consciousness, and choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, and possibilities can you and your body be to acknowledge all of you?
All of me, take all of me. Yeah. Can't you see?
All of me. I'll
Yeah.
go deeper.
Like it. I like it. I like it. I like that, baby. The deep. Go deep, girl.
Yeah. What can we do to go deeper, to fly
Yeah.
higher?
You know what was popping for me also, Carla? There's a gal, a friend of mine, and she sometimes feels wrong for not being joyful,
Ah,
you know?
Mhm.
especially people who work with, spiritual tools, access tools, consciousness tools. It's like everyone's so joyful, and sometimes I'm not joyful, and she feels wrong.
Hmm.
So what if you didn't have a point of view about how you are, how you feel, how you show up?
Or what joyful actually is.
Yeah,
What if joyful for you is different than what joyful is for somebody else?
yeah. And one of the things you know, the invitation of this call also, and the conversation, which is a continuous conversation, is once we are actually willing to look at some of the ways we're judging ourselves. I love that movement, girl.
Something's moving.
Then we're actually able to move in a different way. And also,
It's the joy. The joy is coming through my body.
yeah, and it
Often
may
is what I'm aware of. Yeah.
show up in a very different way for people. Yeah, yeah. And so, however, it's showing up. It's showing up. So recognizing, how do I see joy? So that might be a question. How
And
do I
being an
see joy?
allowance of that too. Being an allowance of that. Of how do I see joy? How do I be joy?
Yeah,
So yeah, there's yeah, how do I see it? How do I be it? How do I receive it for me? So I have an awareness, and I've actually talked about this before about so to press pause for a moment, I was talking to one of my patients the other day and doing I was in a session with him and we were actually practicing some laughter. Because, what would it be like to just be able to fucking laugh for no reason? Just period. I mean, if on so many levels, it can feed you and your body and the energy of life and everybody around you.
I love it.
And
I
he,
love laughter.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
So he is a Black, brown, and different person. And his awareness was, wow, I have been afraid to have this joy, to be this joy, to unleash this joy out into the world because of my cultural upbringing, because, in society, being a Black man can be threatening. And then the joy, you can be threatened for your joy. What's so funny? So many of those bits and pieces came up. And so, what I asked him to do was just, what if you were to connect with the earth and just be aware of all the squirrels jumping around and all the flowers blossoming and all the beautiful trees? And if you can connect to that and be aware of the energy and allow that bubbling of all that energy to come up through your body, can you allow that to bring a smile to your face? Can you allow yourself to feel and be with the energy of life? And what is that for you? What does that energy bring up for you when you really tap into that? As you were saying before, the cows and the horses have no judgments. The squirrels have no, they're just having a good time, you know? So, where in our differences have we been told, been sold a lie about joy? Whether it's wrong to be joyful or you're wrong if you're not joyful. What if you could just be the aliveness of life? And if laughter comes through with that, well, heck, why not?
And how much of history or past, um, or the past that we may not even be aware of, right? Are are we reacting to in not wanting to be too joyful, not wanting to express and show joy, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you are too happy, will you be criticized or will you also be a target for, you know, there's that for people to want to kill you,
Yeah.
you know?
This is something I've been aware of in my life. I mean, I was born with a smile on my face, my mom says. And and I've always had this joyful energy. And I'm grateful for having learned to use it in different ways, right? To use the capacity of it to open doors, to close doors, to kill, to bring life. Um, and also aware of all of the ways that it's worked in both directions, right? Like I've been aware of it, using it as a capacity and just being it. And then also being aware of when I should be quiet, I shouldn't be so happy because somebody else is sad or whatever those reasons are. I won't be taken seriously. I will be smart if I'm joyful. And all the places where you might make yourself wrong. And even if that's, 80% of the time, I'm like, woo, what if we could create it so that it's 100% of the time where you're willing, where it doesn't stop you, whatever your difference is, whatever your gift is. You don't have to rein it in, but you can learn how to navigate with it with more ease.
Yeah, joyful, affectionate, you know? If you're joyful, are you stupid? Are you superficial? If you're affectionate, are you, you know, a sexual abuser or, you know, or a
Add it.
prostitute? Or if you're, if you're, yeah, if you're happy, you know, in some places, some cultures, some countries, also women, right? If you're too affectionate, too outgoing, then you're not actually respecting some of the rules and regulations of the religion, the country, right?
Right?
Yeah, and if you are including other people in your life who don't look like you, right? Who don't speak that language you speak, right? And who are not um, approved.
Approved.
Yeah, yeah.
Not approved. You're not approved.
Absolutely.
Woo!
Yeah, yeah. This this I've got 100 things I would like to share. That this thing about keeping ourselves locked down so that we don't step out too much, we don't become too um, visible, right? We don't want to get our voice out there in the world because we don't want to be identified, easily identifiable, right? That's not nowadays, that's not actually true.
There's
Everyone,
change happening.
say it again.
I said there's change that is, opening up. There's possibility that's showing up. And hmm, I'm having this awareness of, wow, the amazing contribution if all the color, if all the difference could show up. And it's not even about the not approved or being approved. It's just about being.
Yeah.
what would that change in the world?
If you're interested in what's different about you, what's unique about you, then you're actually interested and you recognize that there's something different and unique about everyone, right? And if your approach to you is in that way, then there's no way you can feel wrong,
Yeah.
right? Because you cannot be perfectly like someone else,
Mm,
right? So what you can only be perfectly like you. We're different. Yeah. And it's so inviting. So would you be willing to really acknowledge the difference in other people, be interested
mm,
in what's different about them, and be willing to share your appreciation for their difference, their uniqueness. For me, it's something I always see, and I've said this here, I always see um, what I consider who people are, who people really are, who they're being at the moment, who they're showing up as, what they're putting forward is interesting. But the truth of who they are, like you said, right,
yeah,
is that they're a vibration that exists on this planet, and there is something special about everyone.
yeah.
What would it take for us to see it? What's special about us? Your head's moving back and forth. What's going on?
That's what's special
Something
about
different about
me.
you?
My husband calls it the bobblehead. That's what's special about me.
One of the things.
And that's, yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. One of the things.
Yeah.
One of the things. Yeah, it's an awareness of energy and a capacity to communicate and allow that energy to move through and shift and change things. And so um, I've always been aware of it since a child. And then it's one of those ways that I tried to fit in and like put words to it or make myself act in a particular way instead of just being and allowing that energy to flow and allowing myself to be aware, aware that I was aware. And and so yeah, at the moment I was just aware of an energy here moving through this call and allowing you to receive that if you would like, just to open up your space and whatever feels right for you and just lower your barriers. And it's really just a melting of sorts, like
And
the chocolate, melting chocolate that we talked about, or the butter, or anything else, or the river that flows. Just being an allowance of that to flow. All the stuff that's been stuck inside of you, keeping you from doing, being, having, allowing, receiving all of you. Just just allowing that to melt. And all the heaviness that you've been carrying on your shoulders, perhaps, or your heart, that hasn't allowed you to be who you truly be, who you know you be in all places and spaces. As a group, just allowing that energy to move and melt out of you, out of the soles of your feet. And with every exhale, ooh, beautiful. Wow, wow.
If we can expand, really, recognizing, we're not alone. We never have been. We never will be. And so many of the exclusions, being excluded from this, being, you know, backed into a corner, being defensive, so many of those have built up those shields and,
Being shut down.
yeah, and barriers and imprisonment.
Jail, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so what if we're willing to really expand beyond a sort of lockdown, even with the COVID, expand from the inside out and let our inner beauty shine.
Mm.
Let our inner beauty shine, warm up.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, warm us up. What what kindness and affection can we be with ourselves? It all starts with us. Absolutely. And this world will change. The way you see the world will change. The way you see people, the way you see animals, the way you see your furry and invisible friends, the way you see the trees, that all changes. And we're not alone. So there's a lot that can contribute to us. And I hope that this uh, conversation opens up for you some questions about where people function from. It may not be you. It may be people you know. Where are they functioning from? What kinds of what kinds of self-doubt or judgment might they be functioning from that you showing up in their world could be a contribution to? And if it's that you showing up already like that, who can you invite that actually is able to see you, willing to see you,
Mm.
you know, willing to get you, willing to get your energy? I used to give, when I was living in New York, I would give parties, and they would always be people they weren't necessarily friends, but they would always meet up at my parties. Now, and now that I've been living outside of New York for so many years, they're actually finding one another again, you
I
know?
thought you were going to say they're flying to Italy to my parties. And that too.
Nobody's flying anywhere now at the moment. Well, I
Well,
do have a couple from Switzerland here. I've got a couple from Switzerland here. She's really Brazilian and he's from Holland, but they live in Switzerland.
cool.
Yeah. And they feel different there, you know? They're
Hmm.
not necessarily received there. And so many, I mean, I'm not sure if you mentioned squirrels.
Yeah.
There's lots of squirrels in New York, right?
Yes.
Tons of squirrels. They're not considered like these amazing animals in New York. In
But all the
Italy,
tourists
in
love them.
Italy they are. Yeah, they're not as abundant here. And in France they are. And I remember I was in New York with a gal from Paris, and she was like, "Oh, look, there's a squirrel." And she's running after the squirrel, trying to take pictures, trying to feed the squirrel, trying to be nice to the squirrel. And everyone's looking at her like, It's just a squirrel. So where have you considered yourself just a squirrel
Mm,
and maybe have not been willing to acknowledge that there's a whole world that appreciates you? And they may not be where you're living, they may not be in your neighborhood, in your country.
yeah.
Yeah. When I remember I told you this, when I go to the seaside here, when I go to the beach,
Uh-huh.
right? There might be nobody who looks like me on the beach. No black, brown. Maybe there's some guys from Nigeria selling socks,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now so- but the music is 100% African American, Black American music. And
Mm,
I say to myself, when I first came, I said, I wonder if they know that in the States. I wonder if they know that people are enjoying their talents and abilities,
right.
you know?
And
So
they're sharing it anyway, whether they know it or not.
absolutely. In my high school, we had, the um, Black Students Association. I was one of them. I was also an honorary member of the Chinese Students Association in my high school because we were working on computers together. So they started their group. They were like, "Hey, come join our group." So what group have you decided you're not a part of because you don't fit, you know, the
Yeah.
criteria? But what if it's not
Where have
about,
you X'd yourself out
yeah,
without even asking a question? Where have you,
yeah.
where have you closed the door instead of allowing it, to open up or to open it and see even, you know? Stop closing the doors.
What if it considered really common about you, something you do with so much ease and so naturally that you haven't recognized it as a talent? Something unique about you, something different about you that is actually a gift.
Magic.
Yeah, and magic. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Beautiful.
Uh,
So interesting, the energy here. There's so much ease I'm aware of. What magic are you aware of, Cass?
that the world is, it's almost like grass, not like smoking grass, but
You're
but
showing her.
ready to rise up in a very different way.
Yeah,
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 ready to have the voices be heard, you know?
yeah.
And no matter what the language, no matter what the sound, what if you and your energy are what the world's asking for? What if that is the cure for corona?
Yeah.
Yeah. What if you are, would you be willing to step up, step out, and have your different scene? If you're if you're interested in that, please let's give him some questions to ask. Yeah, to ask, just to play with. We play with a lot of questions. We're writing, we're facilitators of access consciousness. Miss Karla is a hypnotherapist, but also a movement.
Yes.
Yeah, inviting people to movement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sensual movement and somatic exploration and yeah, allowing all that stuff to move through your body.
yeah. And also, it's so easy for people to open up to a space and then close back down. So, what
Mm,
is the continuity
yeah.
of um, inspiration that you require to never, ever snap back to a small space? I know we used to say snap back to Georgia. You know that expression, right?
Back to Georgia. I haven't heard that, but okay. I just kind of thought of like, a boomerang kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes we get this great expansion, and this takes very little to bring us back down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
That's never
and
happened to me.
yeah, well, I don't actually think it has.
Yes, I've never created that.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
But
Deadpan.
nothing's ever stopped you,
Yeah.
and no one's ever stopped you. So what if you were not willing to let anyone or anything stop you?
Yeah. What would it be like to be completely unstoppable, knowing that the earth is holding you, that you're a squirrel in the world? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or, just being you, you're already ready. There's nothing else that's required. There's nothing else that's required.
It is required to believe in you, to trust you, and to have the self confidence to know that you have never, ever done anything wrong.
Mm,
You've there's a sports guy who says, I never lose. I either win or I learn something.
yeah.
So if we're not going into the wrongness of us, if we're not really buying that we're wrong and acknowledging that we're just different,
Mhm.
then anything that shows up that is not in harmony for us, what is it that you can receive from that? What is it that you can learn from that? What is it that you can actually transform? How is it that you can transform that into an experience of contribution?
It's that, what gift is this?
Yeah.
And when you're being you, you are not wrong. That
Yes.
true you beyond all of what everyone says you're supposed to be.
Yeah. So, one of the questions I would like to just ask, it's very simple. What is it that is different about you?
Mhm. Yeah. What is your difference? What is your difference?
How has it been living life as you and seeing life from your perspective? Are you short? Are you tall? Are you black? Are you white? Are you tanned? Are you blonde? Do you have red hair?
Mhm.
Are your teeth big? Are they small? What is it that's different? And what is it that you know and nobody else knows. And what if it were not necessary that it be a secret? What if we were willing to share it with the world?
Yeah.
These questions, if you're willing to just ask yourself them, it will begin opening up a whole new space in your life, right? That will allow you to move forward with a lot more ease. And what if you're willing to ask other people and invite other people to that? What we were getting is that people who are different, people who have lived their lives um, with under the foot, right, of others, right, under the being pushed down, they must be really strong if they're still alive and they're still surviving. So, what would it take to not only survive and stay alive, but start living with the joy and thriving
Thriving, yeah.
and thriving and thriving,
And
thriving.
thriving and
Mhm.
thriving and
And,
thriving. Making
and
my
yeah,
own.
cool.
Yeah. Oh. It's been so great chatting with you.
Yeah, so it's a continuous conversation. Yeah.
That it is. There's so many different layers and levels and spaces and places.
So would you like to post your group chat?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, oops.
Do you want to tell people about it?
And just one second, I accidentally opened something up. So we have started a group called Black Brown or Celebrating Black, Brown, or Different. And it's a place where we can discover and celebrate our differences, our capacities, our gifts, and create whatever else is possible, contribute to the world, contribute to each other, and be in that place of expansion and possibility and see what that creates. So I'm going to post it here in the chat, and we'd love to have more conversations, explore what else we can shift and change and create with each other. So hop on in, come visit, and let's start a space where we can lift each other up.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right. So I hope this was a contribution. And if you'd like to come off mute and say, hey, Ava, if you'd like to come off mute, please go ahead and do that. We're going to wrap it up. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. It says, yeah, you have to come off mute.
Somalia, ¿quién se va a quitar el... Hello, hello.
Hello, beautiful.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here. Amazing. I'm celebrating difference.
Yes.
Let's keep it up. The energy beyond the words has been so transformational, or I don't know if that's a word.
Sí.
Amazing. I love you too.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thanks. It was amazing, amazing.
Hey, Ava.
Hello.
Susanam.
We are one.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gracias. Gracias, Kass. Gracias, Karla.
Gracias.
Gracias. Merci.
Merci, shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kass. Thank you, Karla.
Thank you.
Karla.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, lady.
Bye.
Bye.
C'è più che altro rumore.
Grazie Giulia, grazie per la tua voce e la tua energia. Suave, mi hai trasportato in un altro pianeta, grazie.
Grazie.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Gustav.
Grazie.
Grazie Kass, grazie Kass, sei sempre meravigliosa.
Grazie. Grazie a te, cara. Ti amo.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Oh, so lovely to see all your beautiful faces. Bye-bye.